Hey guys, it's Anthony. It's the first time we've ever done anything with video and audio and us watching something, so there's a few times where there's a bit of static and the audio isn't great. It's not really that noticeable, but I thought I'd say anyway. Alright guys, enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the After Dark podcast with Anthony James and Konrad. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode.
Hello, and welcome to the After Dark podcast. I'm Anthony James, and that's Konrad.
Hello.
That's him. Right, Konrad, what have you been up to this week? I didn't actually ask you that in the episode 22. So.
No, that's fine. So I don't have to pretend that it's been a week since we recorded that episode.
Yeah.
I have watched lots of television. I watched a season of The Last Kingdom and a season of The Expanse, and I started watching Vikings.
You started watching The Expanse?
I did, yeah. I just finished season 2 of The Expanse. That season 2 is really good.
That's awesome, because I'm going to be doing some Expanse discussion stuff. And Emmett, who does Star Trek with me on Saturdays, is also going to try and catch up. So we could actually have a cool big discussion thing going with The Expanse. That'd be cool.
A meeting of the minds. Yeah, no, The Expanse is really good. I mean, season 1 was okay. I thought the protagonist was kind of a rubbish Jon Snow alike, but he gets a bit more interesting in season 2, and Amos continues to rule.
Yeah, Amos. Amos is my favorite character.
Yeah, he's great.
Legend. Right. Awesome. What have I been doing this week? I've been watching...
I didn't ask.
Yeah, I know. I'm just going to tell you. I'm going to assume everyone wants to hear. If not, just fast forward on. I'm watching Babylon Berlin. Me and Emma are watching Babylon Berlin. Obviously, I'm watching all the other shows I'm reviewing, but Babylon Berlin is my sort of binging show at the minute. We're one episode away from the end of season 1, so I'm really looking forward to that. It's such a good show.
I need to catch that.
It's much more complicated than I thought it would be. Like, in terms of the actual, it's really intricate, the storyline of like the politics happening in the world, you know, who's loyal to who. It's really good. It's really good. And I was doing a lot of reading actually about it, and it's like, it was such a risk, because I think they filmed the first 2 seasons together, and it was like 40 million budget, and like it was the first real foray into like sort of television show which had a continuous storyline and not just like serial, you know, one episode sort of more. It was more in the vein, I think, German TV with like The Bill and shows like that.
Like for the one listener out there who knows what The Bill is.
Yeah, well, I don't know, like Smallville or something then. So
yeah, okay.
Stuff that had like a different storyline contained in each episode. But apparently they, like, you know, they had a huge risk, and it's paid off. It's really good. Like,
yeah, I really want to see that show. It sounds awesome.
You could even argue maybe Dark wouldn't have been made if Babylon Berlin hadn't come out just before Dark and had such a huge effect on the world for a German TV show. Maybe Netflix.
I thought it was a new show.
No, Babylon Berlin. It's the season 4 is going to be coming out, and the next one to come out. So,
but it started before Dark.
It did, I think. Yeah, it started before Dark. Whether Dark was in production already, I'm not sure. But it definitely started before Dark, though. Yeah.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, so there you go. All right, guys. So what we're here to do today is subscribe, all that sort of thing. Yeah. What we're here to do today is we are here to have a look at my theories for Season 3. Now, this is really just an egotistical move for me because I really want Konrad to see them. I'd like to see his reaction to them. Now, we are not a reaction podcast.
That's my reaction. Here we go.
Like we're not a reaction podcast in terms of like reacting to the show. You know, we're not going to sit and watch the show. I know a few people have asked for us to do that for the final episode of Dark. I said, to be honest with you, the way we've jerry-rigged the situation here, I would hate for Konrad to experience the end of Dark like this. Especially as well, your partner needs to watch it too. So
yeah, if I record me watching it, I can't like cheat and look up all of like the theories before we record. So that's a no-go for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, and also, to be honest with you, like, we're not reactors. Like, I think if you watched us watching a TV show, it would just be like,
yeah, like I say, that was my best. Like,
yeah.
That's my reaction face, and that's
going
like,
on the thumbnail.
Yeah, stick that on the thumbnail. Clip that. But that's the best I've got, and it's not much.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not going to do that, guys. I'm sorry. Maybe one day we'll react to something. We've talked a little bit about maybe one day doing something like, a commentary. Like we'll watch something and commentate on it as we go, so you can watch it at the same time. We've talked about that. Nothing final, but we've talked about it. All right. Anyway, so what this is us going to be going through my theories. Now, I've super cut them in to a 20-minute video, so we're going to sort of go through it bit by bit. We might want to talk about some of them. We might think, yeah, that's fair enough. We'll just move on. We will be pausing it throughout. So Konrad, because I'm controlling the video, it's not a two-way system here. Konrad is going to yell pause whenever he wants me to pause it, whenever he has a little bit of wit to add.
I'll try not to do it too emphatically and blow out the recording, but it might be a sort of game show situation where I get over enthusiastic. Pause.
Yeah. So
Immediately.
So it's going to be fun. My theories, a lot of them weren't correct in exactly the way they go. You know what I mean? So I'm happy that I really want to see if what Konrad thinks, like which one's going to be right, which one's going to be wrong. I'm really looking forward to that. As Konrad knows with his theory matrix, a lot of it's a shot in the dark. But
yeah,
this is actually, now if you're new to the channel because you came on for the After Dark podcast because you searched like reactions or whatever and you got us, well, welcome. But also, you might not have known that I actually only started on YouTube in June of 2020. So I only started on YouTube to build up to season 3 of Dark because I had so many thoughts about the show I wanted to get out. So this is why I'm on YouTube. So finally, Konrad gets to see the videos that I made. One more proviso before we start. I have cut out a fair bit of the stuff of the stuff from this. I've had to cut out a lot of stuff that I used a lot of trailer material for season 3. I used some stuff from different social media accounts from the creators and stuff, from behind the scenes photos and all that sort of stuff. I've cut all of that out. So some of the theories might come across as a bit janky, but at the same time, we'll get the theory out and we'll be able to talk about it. Make sense, Konrad?
Yep.
I think I said I went to call you Konrad there, obviously, but I swallowed the K, so I think Konrad. I think yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like when you're talking through like a radio that's cutting out.
Yeah, exactly.
I got the gist of it.
Yeah, you got the gist of it. Right. Without further ado, let's see how this goes. We have no idea. Let's give it a go. Okay, so we're going to start with my biggest theory. Take it away, past Anthony.
There is clearly a deliberate vein of religious imagery in Dark, which I believe can help us predict what may happen in Season 3.
Lovely.
So, building off of the fact that old Jonas has taken the name Adam, it follows that this is a reference to Adam and Eve. This theory has been kicking about ever since Season 2 was released, and it has been disregarded by some due to it being too obvious. Which I get, I do, but I think some people are viewing it in the wrong way. Let me explain the correct way to think about it. The creators didn't sit there and think, let's write the Bible and just change the names. Or in some cases...
Alright, I'm going to pause this. This is a notorious Anthony lecture. Like, I sometimes can't get my teacher head off. And I had been talking to some people on Reddit before I made my videos. And a load of them kept saying stuff like, they can't be Adam and Eve because, of this. And I thought, like... It basically got to the point where people were saying, can't be Adam and Eve because they're not naked with a fig leaf, And I just found myself being like, why don't people understand what, like, the idea of them alluding to a story means? Like, why don't they understand that, like, metaphorically? That really got me. And, like, early Anthony James stuff, in terms early videos I was putting up, there was a real angst in me on that. Like I was being my Reddit self, which I shouldn't have been.
I feel personally called out by the implication that the Adam and Eve, Jonas Smarter thing is obvious, because that's what I'm like assuming that's where this is going. That's what I'm like resting my hat on at the moment. I'm just like, nailed it. Don't worry about that one, boys. Got that one in the bag.
Yeah. Well, I that's how I felt, to be honest with you. Like. But at the same time, as I was talking to people on Reddit, even some people in real life I was talking to about this, they weren't finding it as obvious as me, but maybe that's because they didn't have a religious upbringing, So I grew up a Catholic, I went to Catholic schools, I had to learn the Bible, you know what I mean?
I feel like even if you're not religious, you know about Adam and Eve for the most part. Like, it's a pretty well-known story.
True. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Anyway, let's keep going.
Okay.
They are influenced by the story of Adam and Eve, and therefore they reference aspects of it in their work. The point is not to retell the story of creation from the Bible. The point is to use it as influence in the creation of a new story. I think the people who would be disappointed by the story of Adam and Eve being a main theme or influence in Dark are not likely to have tried to write something themselves. I have. It's hard. There does not exist any story that is not influenced by another. My wife put it perfectly. It is not copying to reference or be influenced by things. The idea is to reference and be influenced by so many things that you have an original piece of work.
It's nepotism.
This is definitely the case with Dark. Even if the character is called Adam, and he has parallels with Adam from the Bible, he is not Adam from the Bible.
So as I say, big lecture going on here. Big lecture.
No, I think it makes sense. Like that, I think literalism is something that I don't want to be like, oh, these days this thing's rubbish, but like literalism in interpreting things in media is like a problem that a lot of people have, and you know you can pull from as you've said here, you can pull from a story without literally telling that story.
Exactly. Like I'm not going to get into the details because you haven't seen season 3, but when I put up my Dark and Back to the Future inspiration video, where like all the points that I felt that Dark was inspired by Back to the Future, the amount of people in those comments, which I was happy to have the discussions, but the amount of people who just didn't seem to understand what the word inspired meant, it doesn't mean copied. Like, it doesn't mean copied.
You are literally depicting this. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, like, the only way to have a truly original piece of work is, like, I think to have a truly original piece of work, you'd probably have to invent your own language, first of all. Because, you can't reference anything that you can't actually use any phrases because you've learned them from previous works. So, you know what I mean? Everything's inspired by everything. That's,
Yeah.
I agree with myself.
New character with his own story. Just like Superman isn't Moses, even though he was put in a basket, sent down the river, and adopted by new parents.
That's the funniest joke I have ever made on YouTube. Seen here.
What's that guy's name? Was it Brandon?
Tom Welling.
Brandon. Oh no, Brandon Flowers. Brandon Flowers. What was he? The one from Superman Returns.
Brandon Ralph.
Brandon Ralph, that's it.
Yeah, seen here at 14 years old is the best joke I have ever done on YouTube. 100%. Because that is, at the first season of Smallville, Tom Welling is like 28 years old and he's playing a 14-year-old.
Yeah, that's a reach.
Yeah.
Even by the standards of people in their late 20s playing teenagers, that is a reach.
It's a reach.
Here's my theory for this episode.
Right,
I believe Alt World Marta will be Eve to Old Jonas's Adam.
Could you see where I was going with it?
I'm not saying that she'll be called Eve.
There it is.
Although she might.
She can't swim
I'm
either.
really saying that I believe that the events of Season 3 could be informed by the story of Adam and Eve. There seems to be a lot of evidence that this could be the case.
Okay.
Redacted.
Alt Marta's time/dimension travel device looks a lot like an apple. I know, this one seems a bit silly, but it really does. It's spherical.
Sure, pause that for a second, So,
I told you I'd have another name for it.
I'm playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla at the moment, and that has these things called Apples of Eden, and they do look, I don't think Dark was inspired by this at all, but they do look very suspiciously like they're like kind of progenitor race artifacts that do, I don't know, magic stuff.
Yeah.
But they do look a lot like Eve's time machine, her golden snitch. So
I love how you're already calling her Eve.
She's definitely Eve. Come on. That's who she is. Alt Marta, fine. I'll stick to.
You're coming around to my idea that it's obvious now.
I think. I mean, I that's why I'm like I said in the Theory Matrix video. I'm pretty confident in that one that she's like kind of she represents the mirror of Jonas in her world. Like I feel like the show has been about mirroring characters since literally the first episode. So
even the opening credits design.
Yeah, even the opening credits. So it's like, why would they stop now? Like they literally have an alternate world that is a mirror of this one. What better way to mirror the central character's journey than by changing it to Marta? So yeah, to me, I'd be really surprised if that doesn't turn out to be the case. Personally.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same. I've already seen it, but you know.
yeah. I mean, you know.
I'm in my pre-season 3 mind right now because of this, you know. Anyway, so there we go. It looks exactly like an apple, as we can all see.
The request of the snake in the Garden of Eden. So that brings up a question.
Why not?
Who's the snake? How did Alt Marta get the apple? Well, I believe this to be Claudia. Now, again, I want to explain. I'm not saying that Claudia is the devil. I'm not saying she is the snake, because I think that she is representing the snake. This is not the Bible. This is dark. It is influenced by the story of Adam and Eve. It is not a retelling. Sorry for repeating myself so much on this point.
Just to get the point out there.
There seems to be a lot of people who don't seem to get it. Claudia is not the snake. Claudia may be, in this part of the story, influenced by the snake. Having said that, she does get called a devil. A lot. And if you still aren't convinced, this dialogue she has with Noah just before she dies sounds like it could have been lifted from the snake's dialogue in the Bible.
Durch die Illusion von Freiheit. Aber frag dich, ob du wirklich frei bist. Wenn du wirklich frei wärst, hättest du eine Wahl.
Come on.
Kaboom.
Eine Wahl.
I forgot. Excellent. Well done.
So
Good
there
Bon
you go.
Jovi
There's the end of my
insert
first
there.
theory. So my
I did
first
not
theory.
expect the Bon Jovi.
Sorry?
I did not expect the Bon Jovi there.
Come on. Shot through the heart. You're to blame. You give love a bad name. Hopefully that doesn't copyright strike me. Apparently you can get copyright struck just for singing the song. But anyway, so that's my theory. My first theory, Adam and Eve, like you had. But I went further on that, and I think that Claudia was going to be the serpent based on her dialogue and all that sort of.
So is your feeling was that she was going to turn out to be slightly more villainous than she is presenting herself?
Well, that's a debate. I don't think that the snake in the Bible or the serpent in the Bible is villainous. You know, I don't believe so. Is the idea of, you know, encouraging free will villainous?
I guess so. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, my kind of knowledge of the I was going to call it the origin story of humanity there. I don't know, that's like superhero movies have coloured the way I talk. The kind of leading or prompting the Exodus from the Garden of Eden, I guess, is easy to see as a villainous act, but I suppose it depends on what your paradise actually is, which, you know, in the way that Adam talks about it. So yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. I'm not sure I've thought about Claudia in those kinds of terms. I haven't really thought about her and how she would fit into that into that story, but it's probably a fairly apt analogy.
Yeah, and like the idea as well of like actually analyzing the Bible in general. Like, I don't know, it's telling someone that they can't have free will, and then whenever they do want free will, or like they follow the serpent's advice, and then like in order to get humans back for that initial original sin, sending a son to Earth and then having him be like basically tortured and killed for that sin, that doesn't seem like a good guy thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's that literalism.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think. When you think about it in those kind of very literal terms, it's like, oh, you wanted free will, labour pains, enjoy.
Exactly, yeah. And the snake was cursed to crawl on its belly for all time.
What was it doing before? That's what I want to know.
It had little. I think I've seen a picture that had little arms. You know, I think
it was like a millipede.
It was an old film camera. They're all digital these days, but it was an old film camera. Got a picture of this snake. All right. Anyway, so my next theory. That's my first one. So I think that one is very similar to yours. I mean, some of these do go off the deep end. There's one in particular that I'm looking forward to after you finish season 3 that I can properly lay out to you, because there's one that was properly mental. Anyway,
all right.
That one was one of the longest ones too. Some of them are a lot more snappy than that. But here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Into the second.
In this video, I'm going to explore something which I believe to be further evidence to the Adam and Eve theory. Having said that, this video will be much more speculative than the last one, and should be treated as such. Now, first of all, let's talk about Agnes and Noah's parents, or lack thereof. This topic's...
That's a little illusion. That's not really the theory of this video, but I did one of my theories was that Bartos, who I thought was Bartos, because I had that theory too, which is coming later. My theory was that Bartos was married to Agnes. I don't know, married, but Bartos was actually the father of Tronta. That was my theory at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's why I put him there.
Sparks much debate within the fandom, and the correct answer is that nobody knows. However, there are a couple of theories that have been more popular than others. One speculation is that Noah and Agnes could be children of Magnus and Francisca. I will look into this one and report back if I find anything at all credible. I'm not very familiar with it. The theory this video is going to propose, however, is that Agnes and Noah are the children of Jonas and Alt Marta. who from the previous video I have drawn parallels with Adam and Eve. Which, if you're familiar with the biblical text, you know that the children of Adam and Eve are Cain and Abel. So it follows that my theory would be that Agnes and Noah are Cain and Abel. Or at least aspects of their characters are influenced by Cain and Abel.
Still banging that
Obviously, though, despite no one expecting it, it would be absolutely fine if they turned out to be related to no one. You hear that, Star Wars? It would be fine.
Oh, my father didn't fight in the wars. He was a navigator on a spice ship.
That's what your uncle told you. He didn't hold with your father's ideals, thought he should have stayed here and not gotten involved.
I'm Noah Skywalker.
Yeah.
It should also be quickly mentioned that I'm aware that Agnes and Noah live with Erna. However, it's widely believed that Erna is not their mother. This is backed up by her reputation for taking in strays.
Now shut your face!
She even gives Jonas a bed when he comes to Winden, and she assumes that he's a returning prisoner of war.
So, discounting the Francisca and Magnus theory for now, and discounting that Erna is...
This is what you call a creative use of the fact that you forgot to record this part the first time.
...is their real parent. Let's look at the Cain and Abel theory.
The story of Cain and Abel is from Genesis in the Old Testament of the Bible. Cain and Abel are the children of Adam and Eve. Cain was a farmer, and Abel was a shepherd. Both brothers made sacrifices to the Lord. The Lord preferred Abel's sacrifice to Cain's. This angered Cain, and he murdered Abel. The following points are evidence for Agnes and Noah representing Cain and Abel in dark. Abel is thought to be derived from a word meaning herdsman. This could be reflected in Noah's role as a priest, where he is a shepherd to sheep. Cain is sometimes seen as an ancestor of evil. What or who is evil then? Well, it would need to be someone in the Nielsen family tree. Could it be Ulrich? He's pretty evil, I suppose. Or even Jonas, due to the fact that he becomes Adam.
Grisly sound
Who's
effect.
pretty evil, I suppose. Noah, in the role of Abel, makes a sacrifice to the Lord. This could be killing Claudia, or it could also refer to him leaving Elizabeth or Charlotte. We don't know the full extent of these occurrences, but I'm sure Season 3 will shed some light on them. In Season 1, Agnes shacked up with the Tiedemans, having already fled Adam and Siegmundus. This could be seen as Cain/Agnes's faith in the Lord wavering, which is something which is portrayed in some tellings of the story.
Are you really going to offer the newborn lamb as an offering to the Lord? Yes, brother,
this?
I want to give my best to the Lord. After all that we've got actually belongs to Him. It would be my pleasure to sacrifice the lamb for God. Listen, Abel, this is just silly. Have you ever seen God or heard Him? Father is simply telling you all these stupid stories so that you behave well.
The eyeshadow.
And although some of the surrounding factors are not the same, there is a direct connection to the stories when Agnes kills
Love
Noah
that shot.
after he gives a gift to the Lord. The gift perhaps being the missing pages of the Tyketra book? As I stated at the beginning of the video, much of this is speculation, as I believe a lot of what will make or break this theory will appear in Season 3. Unlike the Adam and Eve theory, which seems to have a lot of setup that predictions can be drawn from, the Cain and Abel theory is an attempt to describe events that have already taken place.
Right, what are you thinking of this theory so far?
So I think the Cain and Abel stuff with Noah and Agnes probably has a bit of has some credibility to it. There are similarities between them. I'm not sure I buy that Jonas and Alt Marta are going to be like, oh, we're technically not related because we're from different realities. Let's get it on. Like, I feel like there's enough trauma in that relationship now that they're probably going to be like, yeah, let's not actually do this. But Jonas and Marta, like Jonas and his Marta, I mean, I've already speculated that maybe she got pregnant, and I have a theory in my Matrix saying I think Adam is Noah and Agnes's dad. So, I mean, yeah, I think there's that. I'm definitely in a similar line of thinking generally with this, but I don't know if I think Alt Marta would be involved in it.
Yeah, fair enough. And I go on to clarify here. I'm not playing it because it comes across a bit lectury as well. You know, you go and watch the video if you want to. I lectured a lot. But basically, I was basically even saying that even if Jonas and Alt Marta aren't the parents, the Cain and Abel stuff does seem to be within that storyline of those two siblings. You know, I do see it there. Right, so I'm gonna fast forward. I don't think. Oh yeah, I'll play this bit for you.
Have Noah and Agnes. Agnes married a world where this theory is true for a minute, then the Nielsen family tree would look something like this. Jonas and Altmarta have Noah and Agnes. Agnes marries... and they have Tronte. Tronte marries Jana. And they have Mads and Ulrich. Ulrich marries Katarina. And they have Magnus, Marta, and Mikkel. Mikkel marries Hannah. And Hannah has Jonas. Wouldn't that be wild? It would make Jonas his own great-great-great-grandfather. It would make Hannah Ulrich's great-great-granny. Ugh.
That really does... That lends credibility to my everyone's a Nielsen theory. That it's just kind of simmering. I haven't actually really got it on the Matrix because it's so broad that I don't know what I'd even put it under. But that's kind of simmering away in the background. So I think, yeah, generally speaking, I think I'm kind of on the same lines as you with this one.
Yeah, that's cool. There's not much else there. Like, I think, obviously, the parentage of those two people is something that was really big. Actually, I completely forgot to go through the fan theories. I might do it at the end of this video. We'll see.
Oh, what, at the end of the theory matrix?
Yeah. So
nice. Yeah.
I might do it in this one at the end. We'll see. You'll see if we can be bothered. I might. Well, either do it this one or we'll leave it until season 3, episode 1. You know.
Oh yeah. You're gonna have to go back and edit that video with an apology.
Yeah. No. Exactly. People are going to be outraged. But anyway, so what? I can't even remember what my third theory is. But why don't we just get into it?
Let's go.
There's a few. Yeah. Oh yeah. I found YouTube free music at this point. So
nice. Bit of Ken MacLeod. Is it Ken MacLeod?
Kevin MacLeod. Yeah.
Kevin MacLeod. That's it. Yeah.
So there's a few Kevin MacLeod.
Ken.
There's a few different theories here where there's music in the background. So if that doesn't float your boat, I'm sorry, but I was loving it.
I love a bit of synthwave. Hit me.
This one is pretty straightforward. Bartos is the man in the cave. I thought this as soon as the character appeared on the screen at the beginning of season 2.
Fine.
There is some irony to the fact that...
Agreed.
Don't need any more for that one.
Agreed.
100.
Yeah, that man... If that man isn't Bartos, I will eat my hat. I don't own a hat, and I'm not going to do that, but... hypothetically, I would eat a hat.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I was even at that point when I was theorizing, I was just referring to that character when I was talking to our mutual friend who watched the show with me, and to my wife Emma as well. I was just referring to that character as Bartos, just like you are now. So
it's got to be Bartos. There's no way it's not.
In fact, also I didn't include this because it might have been spoilers, but I'm just going to say it.
Okay.
The character's eyes of that are different than the actor's eyes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he's wearing contacts.
Wow.
To look more like a certain person.
Yeah. So, who could that be? I wonder.
Yeah. Who could that be?
He literally looks like his older brother. It looks like it's ridiculous how similar they are.
Yeah. That is one of the best ones of the whole show.
Yeah.
The Noahs are good too.
Yeah, I mean, Noah. I think we talked about this in season 1, but when I saw Noah for the first time in season 1, in episode 1, or young Noah in the first episode of season 2, I was like, oh, that's Noah. But then I saw Bartos, I was like, oh, well, that is 100% Bartos. That is literally perfect casting.
Yeah, unbelievable. Okay, so next one.
It would seem that the creators of Dark want nothing more than the fans of their show to theorize about its outcomes. For proof of this, look no further than the Sic Mundus Creatus Est photograph. It's high quality enough to allow us to recognize characters that we know, but too lower quality to allow us to fully make out some of the faces we are less familiar with. This obviously makes sense as the photograph is very old and faded to boot. The characters we know for sure who are in the photo are Adam, Agnes, Noah, Francisca, and Magnus. So that's 5 out of 13 we know for sure.
Just pause for 1 second.
8 up for debate.
So had you assumed at this point that the lady with Magnus was Francisca as well?
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's fine.
No chance.
Yeah.
No, in my mind, there was no chance it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I am as well with it. Even if you hadn't said anything, I'd be like, that's obviously Francisca. Yeah. I mean, the guy in this photo that I'm most interested in is Captain Mutton Chops in the back right, to be honest.
I have not included who I thought that was because there's just too much spoiler in it.
Yeah.
But I said at the start of this theory video, which I don't know if I included, if this turns out that the only characters we know are the ones at the front, then that's, that is what it is. It's just that I love the idea of theorizing who these characters are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. I'd love this to be expanded, but also, you know, people join churches and leave churches. Maybe some people they got into it for a summer and then they moved away.
Yeah, they
It's
need
like,
ditch
nah.
diggers, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they got Bartos for that.
Yeah, exactly. That's why the tunnel was built, so they got rid of him.
And based on theory 1 of this video, most people would be in agreement that the man second him from the left is Bartos, which leaves 7 unknown. I'm going to go through each of the unknown characters and decide which character I feel they are most likely to be.
Oh, here we
Before
go.
I start, I'll point out that it's very possible that some of the characters are unknown to us, and as of yet have not appeared in the show. Maybe they'll be introduced in Season 3.
It's
So,
impossible.
having said that, let's start with the man in position 1. For this guy, it's hard to look past Peter Doppler. We know that Noah worked for Claudia after the apocalypse before turning against her and aligning with Adam. We also know that Peter Doppler helped Claudia with Mad's body when it appeared in the bunker in 2019. Perhaps Peter helps Claudia in her research post-apocalypse and...
Peter, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the ears definitely resemble Peter to me in the shape of the head. I could definitely see that.
I thought the
to be
nose
honest,
too.
Yeah, like the nose as well. I think, yeah, this is interesting. I've not really thought to try and theorize about who these people are, because I've assumed, for no real reason on reflection, that most of them are just going to be people who are in 1920 and who we haven't actually seen yet.
Yeah, which is very, very real possibility.
Yeah, but I think, yeah, Peter, I can buy it. I can definitely buy that.
Yeah, like, and at the same time, like, you know, at the time I was very much still thinking it's good fun to do this. At the same time, if it is just all people from the 1920s, that's okay, because the photo served its purpose. Like, if you had actually studied that photo when it appeared in season 2, you could have noticed who they were, you know? So it was sort of, it was a clue for reveals as well.
Yeah,
anyway.
Definitely.
Like Noah becomes one of her pawns. This could explain how Peter was able to travel to join Sigmundus. In fact, maybe the whole of Sigmundus worked with or for Claudia before anointing her the White Devil. I have no other strong ideas of who this person could be, except for, I suppose it could actually be Alt-World Peter, but the same could be said for any of these characters, I'm sure.
It's going to be
For
a
the woman in
nightmare,
position
this
3, I have a
Alt-World
couple of
stuff.
candidates. The first is Charlotte. I will admit right off the bat that this is most likely not Charlotte, although there is a chance that before she went to live with her adoptive grandfather, she was part of Sigmundus and was made to forget the experience like Michael Carnval did his. The woman does have a similar look to young Charlotte, although it isn't close enough for me to be satisfied.
Yeah.
The other possibility that crossed my mind was Elizabeth. And let's face it, if it makes sense for Peter to follow Noah to Sigmundus, then it certainly makes sense for Noah's baby mama to go too. Also, the actress Sandra Borgman fits the bill for likeness as well. So I'm going to predict that this one is Elizabeth. The woman in position 5 is a lot more difficult, if I'm honest.
Okay, nice.
Not letting you know. You can see who I put the name
The
for.
woman in position 6 is very clearly Erna to me, the innkeeper who takes in Jonas when he first arrives in 1921. She's also the foster mother of Agnes and Noah. In my mind, there is no way she isn't a member of Sigmundus. The actress, Tilla Kratochvil, also looks like the woman in the picture. This one's a done deal in my opinion. The older gentleman in position 9 was also another hard one to pin down. One of the factors making this so hard is a large masculine jawline, as I couldn't think of any other character off the top of my head who would have this jawline. Then I stopped thinking of characters who could look like this, and started thinking of characters who do look like this in their present form. Based on this thinking, I think that this is H.G. Tannhaus. Same jawline, same nose. The man in the photo also has glasses, which are quite hard to see. Also, his ears are always hidden underneath his hair, so exposing his ears for the photograph would be a great way for the creators to throw people off his identity.
What?
I will say that there's a large...
That is not where I thought that was going to go, to be honest. I thought you were going to say Ulrich for that one.
Oh, really? But we know...
I think that...
I don't know.
I mean, we do know what happens to Ulrich, but, like, I mean, when you introduce alt timeline people, it's like, well, it could be alt. I think that jawline looks more like, if I was going to pick someone, I think that looks more like Ulrich's jawline to me. Although, actually, like, looking at the picture of Tannhaus...
I think it looks exactly like Tannhaus's jawline.
I think the face is a bit too narrow for Tannhaus, but the jawline I can definitely see.
Yeah. Definitely a resemblance there somehow. And also, like, I was also thinking, like, I wanted Tannhaus to be there somewhere because we know that there's some connection with him to Sigmundus because of this, you know...
Something's going on.
Something's going on, definitely.
Likelihood that this is actually alternate H.G. Tannhaus. And I think he is actually the source of a lot of the bootstrap paradoxes.
So I actually
predict
predict this is alternate.
I think he wrote the book that found its way to Prime H.G. Tannhaus, as well as drew the plans for the time machine, which also found its way to him.
There you go. I'm not letting you have the next two.
Oh, okay. I get you.
Put it this way, right? It's not because they're correct. In fact, the opposite. But just because I used spoiler stuff to to go through it. You know?
Oh,
what I mean?
okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you've done way more analysis on that photo than I have, to be honest. Like, I've not broken it down in that much detail. I've looked at it a few times and been like, I don't really recognise anyone on this. Erna I think you're spot on with. Like, she was the other one that I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Erna.
You're the first person ever to agree with me on that. Except for
really?
my wife Ema, actually. Nearly everyone in the comments of that video were telling me that, why do you think that's Erna? I was like, it is?
I mean, it stands to reason she'd be in the photo. Like, we know she's in Sigmundus.
Yeah,
like, it's not
and
it's
the
not
middle
a secret.
parting. Like, you know, I was just like, that's her. You know.
Yeah, like she's the one person that we like categorically know should be in that photo. So
Yeah. Exactly. All right, I can't even remember what the next one was. People who haven't watched my theory videos and they've only listened to the podcast are probably right now thinking, "Geez, he had just as many crazy theories as Konrad did."
well, there's no irradiated bug monster
there's none of
stuff
that.
yet. So I mean, well, yet.
Yeah. I'll quickly edit that video and pop it on there. So next up,
Also, I have a mini side theory about this one.
Ooh.
Why would H.G. Tannhaus adopt Charlotte? She was a random child who appeared in the world out of nowhere. Why would he do it? I think he did it because his future or alternate self from Sigmundus took Charlotte to him and told him that he needs to raise her. Think about this character. He's had time travelers come and visit him all throughout history, and he always does what they need him to do because he views it as his job within time. I think he'll view raising Charlotte the same way. Pure speculation, but it could happen.
there we go. What do you think of that?
I think the kernel of that is true. I think someone's bringing Charlotte to him, being like, "Oi, raise this baby." I don't think it's going to be alternate Tannhaus or future Tannhaus.
I was going mad with the alternates, to be honest with you, because I was like, so many possibilities. Alternates have to do something.
I feel I would love there to be one or two more, but I feel like I don't think they're going to get properly into too many doppelganger characters. Like, I don't think we're going to have. It was like in season 1 when we theorized that two characters would come across their alternate self or their past self, and they do like the whole thing in like, like when they're trying to see if they act in the same way. I don't think we're going to get that. I would love it, but I think somehow it's just going to be Marta and maybe one or two others.
Awesome. Next, that pesky French
Who are the
delegation.
French
Nice.
delegation?
Here we
In
go.
season 2, there is multiple
I
times when
love the
Claudia's
video of this.
receptionist at the power plant tells her that the French delegation is there to see her, and Claudia asks her to reschedule the meeting. Who are this mysterious French delegation? Maybe they are just a meeting that Claudia has to have rescheduled, and it's used as a way for the audience to see how Claudia has been sucked into the new world of time travel and overlooking the rest of her life. However, there might be something there. There isn't much in the show that doesn't mean something. I mean, look where Elizabeth keeps her photographs. So it shouldn't go unnoticed
that's
that in
cool.
season 2,
I'd never
there are
noticed that.
French-speaking characters being hanged by Elizabeth. Were the French delegation so annoyed about being rescheduled by Claudia that they tried to sneak into the dead zone 66 years later and were hanged for it? Also, what's up with their cable-covered onesies? Could they have been creating their own version of time travel and found themselves in
Chonsuits.
2053? Their clothes look like they've been inspired by astronauts' undergarments that have tubes that can help them control their temperature. There could be some sort of prisoner outfit of the future, perhaps the tubes being a way of torturing the wearer. A further hint towards this being the French delegation is that the actor Frederick von Hoff is credited as scientist in future. This is significant to me, because it would make a lot of sense for the French delegation to be scientists, as they were visiting the power plant after all. Also, the fact that they are scientists in future makes it sound to me as if they're not in their original timeline. I mean, if they were meant to be in 2053, wouldn't they just be called scientists?
Come on, that is deep analysis there.
Yeah. One might say this is too deep, this analysis. To be honest, I mean, I kind of made the theory that was very similar to this as a joke, but you've actually made a theory video on it.
Well, no, it was included in another big one.
Wow,
I did like 5 or 6 in the one.
I think there's a kernel of, as with most of these so far, there's a kernel of truth here, but it's very funny to see you go into like really deep analysis of this.
Yeah. I even went into. I'm not going to play it, but I also looked at the actors' like upcoming schedule. And I was like, he hasn't got much next year. He must be bigger in season 3.
He hasn't got much next year because his character was hanged in this, and everyone was like, "Well, he's obviously not a good actor, so we're not going to hire him."
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Well, you don't like that one. Okay.
There are a lot of people who think that Magnus and Franziska could be Agnes and Noah.
I promised I'd come back to it.
Was parents. This is
Here
a
we go.
really strange one, because when I watched season 2, my natural reaction was that there was no way they couldn't be. But having time to think about it now, I have a number of doubts in this theory. For example, when older Bartos, or the man in the cave officially, is talking to young Noah before he's killed, he makes reference to the fact that Adam took in Noah. I'm sure this could mean just took into Sic Mundus, but knowing the creators, every word is important. I doubt they would have said this if Magnus and Franziska were the parents of Agnes and Noah. Also, the term taking them in implies that Adam is a parental figure, which I don't know about you, but as a father myself, I don't appreciate others making themselves parents of my kids. I'm sure Magnus and Franziska wouldn't like it either. This also hurts the Jonas and Alt Marta being...
Just want to point out, on this video, 77 subscribers.
You're just patting yourself on the back.
I know,
Look how far we've come.
It's mental. This is literally like 4 months ago.
I know, but this is our listeners, or your listeners are
Our
tremendous people. Well, yeah, for this thing, our listeners. But you're putting out good stuff.
It blows my mind every time I look at something like this, because I'm like, who the hell were the first 77 people to subscribe to this?
Especially when you're putting out shit like this.
Yeah, like that pesky French delegation.
I can't believe you put that in a video. That's so funny.
Come on, I was throwing anything at the wall. I was so excited to talk about the show. I was throwing anything.
I think that's the correct way to do theory. That's the fun of coming up with theories in shows like this, though, is getting ridiculous things wrong.
Yeah,
and then being able to look back at them and be like, "What?"
You're assuming I'm wrong.
Well, you're not wrong. I don't think you are wrong. I think that is why French people are turning up.
Yeah.
I think that is the extent of it. Is that like, oh yeah, there's some French people who know about the power plant.
No. My theory was that they were the same French delegation.
Oh, as in they are literally the same French delegation. Well, that's definitely not true.
Yeah, like maybe they were sent through time in some way or whatever. You know?
Oh, I thought your implication was just that. Oh yeah, these French guys are still going to be trying to get there, and they'll send.
Obviously, we can infer that it means that there's some French company that knows sort of about what's going on, and they keep trying to get in, and then whenever we can infer that. But isn't it much more fun to live in my world?
Yeah, where there's like this special forces group of French scientists who are traveling through time, trying to get to the God particle in any timeline that they can.
Hang on. Can we just wait a minute, right? I have suggested that there are characters who've traveled through time in a time travel show, and you're giving me shit for it. I have never, ever given you shit for fucking Noah holding the Philosopher's Stone. Noah drinking from some
There's more
liquid.
evidence of the Philosopher's Stone existing in this show than the French characters who've never had a line like being time travelers.
No way.
Philosopher's Stone is more reasonable than
You're
that
off the
theory.
deep end here. There's no way.
Yeah, that French delegation theory is nuts.
I'm telling you.
I do agree with this one.
There's no way it's as nuts as the bug monsters. Like,
I will give you the bug monster. There are massive cocoons on those trees, though. Like this,
there's French people in the 80s and the 2050s. It's a show with time travel. Come on, it's not that mental.
Listen, I mean, to be fair, I can't say the world that Dark depicts is fairly. Is a narrow slice of society, so I can't say with certainty that no French people ever time travel in one of these cycles. Yeah. The bug monsters are real, though.
Oh yeah, like even if we don't see them, they're real. But but it's definitely more of a jump to bug monsters than it is to people time travel in a time travel show.
Well, agree to disagree.
Let's be honest.
Because if they were, why on earth would they have to take them in? Agnes says to Egon in season 1 that her grandmother was from Winden. She's interrupted by Claudia and doesn't finish. Subterranean homesick alien suggests that this is foreshadowing for Bartos being Agnes's father, because it would make Claudia, i.e. the one who interrupted her grandmother that she was talking about. Well, actually, it's her great-grandmother, but...
That was something that was big in the fandom, is we were trying to figure out who her grandmother was.
Yeah, it's kind of a theory. I was theorizing about that earlier in season 2, and I've kind of lost sight of that reveal a little bit. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So think a lot of people were thinking like something like, you know, Regina or Claudia. They were thinking of like characters like, I don't know, like it wasn't really any other characters that were in that conversation, or other people were just thinking like, oh, it's not going to be answered, because you have to remember, the creators even said that they changed what they did, so this might have been also something that didn't. This might have been also something that didn't sort of carry forward into their new plan.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I feel like that it's quite rare for them to say something and then just never mention it again. Like I think the stuff we've seen of them changing ideas is like them saying, "Oh, Noah is her husband," and then changing it to her brother. But which is, you know, it's a change, but they're not removing like they're not like basically ignoring that she mentioned ever having a husband and hoping we don't remember. So I'd be surprised if it never came back again.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get through this.
The grandmother was from Wyndon. She's interrupted by Claudia and doesn't finish. Subterranean homesick alien suggests that this is foreshadowing for Bartos being Agnes's father, because it would make Claudia, i.e. the one who interrupted her grandmother that she was talking about. Well, actually, it's her great-grandmother, but still. I suppose this is possible. She probably wouldn't view Bartos as coming from Wyndon because he's a traveller, but her grandmother, Regina, definitely came from Wyndon. But, unfortunately, I don't buy this, because it would mean that Agnes knowingly started a romantic relationship with her own great-great-granny.
That's gross! Almost cut off John Cena dressed as a woman there. Yeah, so I negated that theory, to be honest with you, because I was just like, I don't really think Agnes would knowingly go and do that.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a line that would be very difficult to cross. But I think, you know, it's still interesting to theorize about this. Like, who is her grandma? There's a limited number of characters that it could be.
Well, in my mind, I did think it was something to do, like the idea of her saying my grandma's from Wyndon and then Claudia entering. That spoke to me big, you know. Like that was, I did think there was something to that, but I just didn't know what, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, you know, if we think about it. I'm trying to think about where we are at the end of this. So young Noah and Agnes are about the right age to be Francisca and Magnus's children. So I think that which would make Katerina their Agnes's grandmother, who is from Wyndon. So, and Katerina seems like she's positioned to do something significant with where she's off to. So I think the Magnus and Francisca thing that you've mentioned in this video seems like it has some legs.
Yeah, that's what I thought that at the time. That's probably where my eggs were, which basket they were in.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Just disagreeing with myself.
Yeah.
Is trying to create the new world what creates the problem to begin with? When they try to create the new world, it won't succeed. Maybe there's even a possibility that some characters will be pulled to the other world, like Boris Neivold, Clausen's brother, maybe.
So I thought that maybe whenever they try and create the new world, it was going to cause like a rift in time, which was going to drag people through the different dimensions or whatever they are, timelines. And like people like Peter, who showed up in the 80s, came from there and stuff.
I mean, Peter, I could potentially see that. I think I would be surprised if Boris Neivold like ever comes back as anything in this, because Alexander is dead, presumably. I'm assuming Clausen is dead, although I guess we didn't see a grave for him, so it's possible
he might not have been buried in
survived.
Wyndon because he's not from
That's
there.
true. Yeah, or maybe they just like, we hate this cop, we're not going to bury him.
If he's not dead, I don't know where the hell he is.
Yeah.
Blasted to the moon or something.
He went back to the Stone Age.
Whenever the like mushroom cloud, like the black mushroom cloud was happening, Clausen was actually surfing it.
Yeah, while Beach Boys was blasting out of his phone.
Yeah.
I don't think Boris Neivold's coming back. I don't think that. I think that whole plot line was just to put suspicion on Alexander, and get him in a position where the power plant could be compromised. But yeah, Peter mentioned he came to the Wyndon in the 80s. Something put him there. He didn't just rock up. There's no way that you mention that and then have him just turn up in a car and be like, "Hello, I've moved to Wyndon." Like that would be a hell of a red herring.
Yeah. So if you say that Alexander Tiedeman's or Boris Neivold's not come back into it, you're gonna love my last theory.
Okay, hit me with it.
This isn't the last one just yet, but you'll love the one.
Oh, okay. Right.
In Season 2, Episode 6, Ulrich asks Hannah what she would wish for if she could start over. She replies, a world without Winden. I believe this is a clue to the fact that if the cycle didn't exist, Winden wouldn't either. Maybe Winden only exists because that's where Sigmundus settled.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I thought, so my idea was, I thought that, the stranger and those three were going to go back in time. When they went back to the 1880s, that's where I thought they were going to go. When they went back there was no town yet, and because they went back there, they set up a settlement, and that actually is where Winden came from.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of true. Like, we've seen it in the 20s, and it's quite a small kind of, it almost looks like a sort of frontier town. Like, it's obviously there isn't a frontier, but it's very, very rural. So yeah, I could totally buy that. That's really interesting, actually, if that sort of no future world without Winden stuff comes back to literally mean the whole town is going to just disappear.
Yeah. So that was a good idea. I can't remember this. I've got 3 minutes left of this video. I can't remember how many theories it is, but we'll see. This is the Alexander Tiedemann one. No. Oh, you're going to love this.
Again, Peter is hard to predict. He arrived in Winden after his father was in a car accident that left him in a home. This late appearance has led people to believe that he was actually from a different time or a different world. Also, the black and white photo on Adam's family picture wall would imply that he is from the past. Some people theorize that Peter is not the actual son of Helga, as they cannot see Helga having a child.
Yeah,
well,
that's fair.
What if he didn't? Here's my out-of-the-box theory for this episode. What if Magnus and Franziska are the parents of Peter?
Oh, come
Let
on
that
now.
sink in. This would explain the black and white picture, as he would be born in the distant past where the Travelers ended up, which I assume is around 1888 if it was to follow the 33-year rule. I think this theory fits perfectly, because if you've realized what I'm saying that Charlotte is Elizabeth's mother, and vice versa, and Peter is Franziska's father, and Franziska is his mother. Charlotte was raised by someone else, Peter was raised by someone else. Doesn't that just fit?
Yes. That fits.
I mean, it does in terms of the theme of kind of symmetry.
Yep.
But I feel like to do that twice would be that would feel like a bit of a reach to me for them to be like, oh, and also Peter Doppler is his own dad or whatever.
His own dad.
I'm more interested in that black and white photo, to be honest. I hadn't looked at that.
Yeah, I knew that you didn't notice that, and I was very wary of showing you that anyway because you didn't notice it. But there you go, it's black and white.
But is it actually I'll have to have a proper look at it. But does it look a lot like him?
Well, it has to be him because they're grouped in families.
Oh, of course, yeah. So what?
And he's not in that family at all, and that's that's a younger version of him, but it's in black and white. Like, it must be a younger version of him, otherwise they just left him off completely.
Okay, yeah, that's really interesting then. Yeah, so
but I mean, that's why when you said would be the biggest red herring ever, that's why it would even be more so, because they're building in something there.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost not really a spoiler, that, because it's just like they are obviously building to something with him, so it's like he's from somewhere, he's up to something. But I can't buy that Franziska and Magnus are his parents. That would be, to do that twice within one family would be nuts.
Would it?
Yeah, yes, it would be.
See, that prediction that I just made is like your prediction that Elizabeth was Charlotte's mum, but yours was correct. We'll wait and see with mine.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
We'll wait and see. Last theory.
Here we go.
The next theory that I want to discuss is Boris Naivold, or Alexander Tiedemann. His origins are one of the most mysterious in the show. I'm going to give what I think is evidence to him being a traveller. That is, evidence that he is from a different time or even a different world. He could possibly even be working with, or even a member of Sigmundus. It would make a lot of sense for Sigmundus to have someone in charge of the power plant in order to ensure the apocalypse goes off smoothly. When he arrives in Winden, he's on the run, after an alleged robbery gone wrong. He also has an injury to his chest. Could this actually be caused by traveling through time or dimension skipping? Could he have traveled to the Prime world from the alternate world through a portal?
Now, the reason why I said that was because we know Adam says that time travel does stuff to you, and like he looks crazy, you know what I mean? So that's where that came from. Just, you know, that wasn't baseless in my opinion.
He has a bullet wound though.
Did we see? Yeah, well, I know that, but did we?
He has like a hole in his shoulder, in his shirt.
Yeah, well, you never know what's flying through a portal.
Yeah, I mean, there's bits of metal flying around through, you know,
Listen,
in
these
the ether.
theories are not perfect, Conrad. I'm not, you know, I try my hardest not to pick at yours. You know, we need to do a full gloves off. We need to do a full gloves off with your theories. Once
I'm on. See, the thing that the listeners will, I'm sure, understand is that I'm flying high on bringing it, on wrestling it back to 0 points here. Like I'm feeling bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but the time for you to really strike is at the end of season 3 when I come like crashing back down to earth and end up on like -20 or something.
Exactly.
Was he sent on purpose to fulfill a role?
Right,
Maybe he is being
Boris.
forced down a path he has no knowledge.
I can't remember when I get to the point, but there is a point.
Okay.
To support the idea of him working with Sigmundus, or even just helping them somehow, I noticed something interesting about the license plates of some of the cars
Now this is me going deep.
in Windows.
Okay.
I found myself asking the question, where does Noah get the car from when he travels to 2019 in Season 1 when he's driving around trying to recruit Bartos? I had always noted the coincidence that the license plate of Peter Doppler's car contained his initials PD in the middle section of the license plate number. This made me look out for other license plate numbers to see if there was a pattern. I then noticed that in the scene where Katharina rings the radio in Season 1, Episode 6, her initials are in her number plate.
I had the picture,
KN,
I swear.
as well as Regina's are in her number plate in the same episode, RT. It must be noted that not every character has their own initials in their number plate number. For example, Ulrich's Audi has the letters DS in the middle of his number plate. Maybe his car is second-hand and the car only has the initials of the first owner, or maybe due to him being a police officer, it has to be a different number plate.
That's true. Someone in the comments told me from Germany, DS is police.
It also has to be noted that in real life German registrations do not contain initials. So this would be a direct clue put in by the creators. Having given
Right, I just want to stop this here for a second.
It also has to be noted that in real
This shot here, where I put the literal rules of German number plates, right? It says at the bottom, random letters and numbers, right? So I put that up thinking, there we go, that's the rule. The amount of German people who came into my comments and started abusing me, saying, what are you talking about? People use initials on their license plates all the time. I was like, yeah. Did you not watch the video? Random letters. Like, I'm sure you can choose your letters, but I'm saying it's not a rule.
So take that.
Take that.
life German
Take
registrations
that,
do not contain initials. So this would be a direct clue put in by the
I was just arguing that like for 4 months after the point, but anyway.
creators. Having given these few disclosures,
This video is clearly
it has to be noted that Noah
affected
travels
you.
around in a car containing AT in the middle of the number plate. Could this mean that Alexander Tiedemann lets Noah borrow his car?
Could it?
Why not? Why not? Eh?
So,
Did we ever see who's driving that car? I'm trying to
No,
remember.
we never saw the driver, and actually, I tried to really zoom in on him and all, and I couldn't really see. It's probably just a hired car, to be honest with you. But
Yeah, it's just a taxi.
the thing is, someone also pointed out, like, wouldn't Bartos know his dad's car? And I thought, well, this man's rich. He could have an extra car.
He's
Like,
got loads of cars.
Yeah.
He's got a secret set of cars that he doesn't let Bartos see.
I just love some people's like hill that they die on. You know, with a theory. Like that theory is obviously mental, but at the same time, if your hill to die on is, wouldn't Bartos know his dad's car? It's like, come on, like,
Live a little.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't agree with that theory. Like, I don't
put it
agree with you.
mildly.
I'm sorry. Like I don't think Alexander is. I think Alexander is the one character. I think that the irony of his character is going to be that he's the one who has like the most interesting origin, because he turns up having like just committed like a bank robbery and maybe murdered someone accidentally with a bullet hole in his shoulder. But that's actually like the least interesting origin story of anyone in Vinden, because it's just like, oh, you're just a bank robber who came from a town a few miles away and is hiding out here. We're all time travelers, so like...
Yeah, but let's be honest. I couldn't make a video about that.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, you know, making wild theories is what we're here for.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what we do.
And like, to be honest with you, see, at the time, whenever I started this YouTube channel, there was very little dark content like that on YouTube. And that's why I started the video, because I was like, what? No, like, there's one or two people who are doing some dark stuff, but they're not just going on the crazy harebrained theories that I want people, like, I wanted the crazy stuff, you know? And some of it, to be honest with you, I think some of it's sensible, like the Adam and Eve stuff we started off with, that's very, like, analytical, and I think that's sensible. And then it quickly goes into mental. But there is some stuff, to be honest with you, that it was more accurate. In terms of how it sounds, like it sounded more serious, more accurate, which I couldn't show you because it is based on trailers and other stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, and I think your penchant, which I don't really have, for analyzing images to see things hidden in them, is like it cuts both ways, that because it can reveal things to you, like the stuff I missed, so like the black and white photo of Peter Doppler on the Sic Mundus wall, but then you can also, if you get too deep into that rabbit hole, you can start seeing like things that aren't actually there.
Yeah, 100%.
But but both of those routes are equally entertaining. So I think you've done well there.
It's how I pass the time waiting for season 3, and I managed to get a pretty successful so far YouTube channel out of it. So I always look at those videos, like that Adam and Eve one. That's the first ever video I put on YouTube. Well, in this incarnation of myself. I mean, there are some teenage videos. We'll not go there just yet.
Yeah, don't want to find those.
Don't want to find those, but there are some funny skits and stuff. But
that's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Honestly, like when I read some of the comments leading up to this, and I thought it was going to be nuts. But like, with the exception of, I think your Boris Niewald, Alexander Devon is
the Peter Doppler one's pretty nuts too.
Yeah,
is his own grandfather, but the show has precedent for that, so it's not that.
It does. It definitely does. I mean, it wouldn't make me. I wouldn't be like, I'm never watching Dark again if it happened. I would just be quite surprised if they pulled that trick twice, especially within the same family. But there's some good stuff in there, and I think it's reassuring to me that we're generally aligned on. Oh, I'm generally aligned with where you were on like the bigger theories going into season 3.
Yeah, I will say as well, like you haven't really predicted it yet, but you've sort of talked about the idea of it having a happy ending, so to speak, and then breaking the cycle and stuff. When I was in your position, 100% for me, the last episode was leading into the first. 100%.
Yeah, I could still definitely see that, and that I think, funnily enough, I think I did make a comment in season 1 somewhere where I said I wonder if it's going to get to the end of season 3 and it's just going to start all over again.
I remember.
And it can I could totally see it going that way as well. I wouldn't like it as much just because as for a matter of taste, I like a happy ending, but I could totally see them ending the series that way and it being very effective.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, if you want to see any of those videos in full with all the redacted stuff there, go to my channel and just go to videos and go oldest. They're my first videos I ever put on, so you'll see all those. I also have like my old trailer breakdowns where I've put some extra theories out in those, but obviously I couldn't talk about them here. There's a load of extra stuff there too. There's also the who I thought the last 2 in the Sic Mundus photo were as well.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna go do it, but I just want everyone to know how tempted I am.
I can tell you who I thought the mutton chop person was, but I'm not going to tell you any of my theory about it.
Okay, give me Captain Mutton Chops.
You're going to laugh at this.
Go on.
Alt Mickle.
I mean,
there was a whole theory. There was a whole theory to it.
I'll say this for Mickle. We know that he is a man or boy who has no backbone when it comes to being forced into the fashions of the time. Enos puts him in the tightest hot pants she can find, and he doesn't have anything to say about it. So it's totally believable that he could end up in like the 20s or the late 19th century and be like, well, everyone has mutton chops, so I guess that's what I'm doing now.
I also will say that there's a theory that I made based on an image from the trailer. And everyone knows the image, the really famous image, which made everyone go mental and start analyzing deeply into this image. I'll not say any more. But
man, I want to know what that is now.
Yeah, so this image that I saw, I created a theory that the actual details, like the surface details of the theory weren't correct, but the overall theme of the theory was actually literally the ending of the show.
Oh wow. Okay. I really want to know what that image is now. I'm not going to go looking for it, but there's a strong temptation.
I think you're gonna get it maybe episode 4. I think it's episode 4. You'll get
what, as in like how the show is going to end?
No, I think you'll get that image in episode 4.
I'll get the image. Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll look out for that in episode 4 and see if I can spot the one that you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, there you go. To be honest with you, I think we are like. We'll take a second just to breathe here before we go into the final stretch of this final season. Has there ever been a TV show that's been as covered as what we're doing here? Like, we're going into we're spending so much time on this show. I love it so much, but it's crazy. Like, hour and 40 minutes our episodes are now. Like,
I mean, it's going to be hard to find something that matches this kind of quality and warrants this kind of coverage, because it is. The writing, even when the show is not at its best, it's still really, really good. And the writing is ridiculous. Like, it's so competent and compelling. And the last episode, I know we talked a lot about the gun changing hands and stuff, but there are so many things that could be like really trite and just feel cheesy in another team of writers' hands. And in this show, it's just amazing, and there's just so many open-ended questions going into season 3 that I can't wait to see the answers to.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Like, and we've sort of narrowed down to a show we think for the next time. It might, obviously Conrad's never seen it, so that's what's so strange about it, because I have to make the judgment call.
Yeah,
I think there's a potential for Conrad to love this show, but which we're not revealing yet. We're gonna do like a whole thing soon. We'll reveal soon, but there's definitely scope for Konrad to not like the show as well, because the show that I think I'm gonna choose does have a particular like tone to it, and it's one of those tones where if you go with it, it's really cool. Like, it's very serious, but if you don't, you might just view the whole thing through a satirical eye, which would be great. Let's be honest, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, I've done my due diligence by I remember when we first started this, you being like, I am a bit worried that you won't actually like the show, and then it will just make the podcast a nightmare, because it will just be me being like, this is all rubbish, and you having to do all the work. And I've done my due diligence by conforming to what everyone expected, which was that I would absolutely love it.
I always was confident that, I knew the quality of this show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I don't believe anyone would dislike this show. I find it very hard to believe someone would dislike this show. It's got something for
if you give it time. If you actually give it your time, and you don't just like watch the first episode just to throw something on, you know what I mean? If you, I appreciate people who actually do take recommendations from others. Like, the thing is, like, you eventually did with this, obviously, because we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, is that a shot at me for not listening to
obviously,
you?
Obviously. But the funny thing is, I actually started watching Dark based off a recommendation from my sister-in-law. I
didn't know that.
Yeah, so my sister-in-law recommended me the show because she's really into like crime shows and like drama. But she watched the show. I don't even know if she initially knew it was in German for the first episode. Like, she just, because Netflix auto plays the dub. And she watched the show and she's like, oh, you got to watch this. Whenever the first season had just come out, she said, oh, you got to watch this. It's really good. And then so I watched it and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? And then my sister-in-law was like, yeah, if you like that, you should watch this other thing. And the other thing she recommended was like You or something, like the Stalker show. And I was like, no, you don't understand. You just pointed me to the best show ever. And she's like,
you just stumbled onto my favorite show.
Shows. Like she really likes it. She does like it. Don't get me wrong, but she does like. I'm just like, you just pointed me to the best show ever. Don't you understand this? I still don't know if she understands how good the show is. But anyway, she likes it though. I will say.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that's testimony to the fact there's something for everyone here. It has,
exactly. Yeah.
Something for nerds like us who like to analyze everything, and then it's just compelling for people who want to just have something on to keep them entertained too.
And that is something that that Jon Shafris has talked about before at length. The idea of who she calls, now I take this a bit ironically towards people like us. She says smarties, right? But she also said like she would consider herself that as well, like people who want to pick stuff apart. So she said that they very much tried to make it appeal to all the different spectrums of viewer.
Yeah.
So there you go. Anyway, guys, thanks very much. We've went really long on this as well. Hope you enjoyed that. That was something a bit different for you. The audio listeners, I hope you got something out of that as well. I'm sure you did. Like, it was most of the stuff from the videos was very audio based anyway, so it should be okay. Guys, if you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, that'll be great. Subscribe to audio apps. Could you also leave some comments underneath? I could ask questions to Konrad. If you have any extra questions you want to put on that you missed on the last videos, you can either go back there and put it on, or put it on here. If you want to send us an email, it's adpodmail@gmail.com. adpodmail@gmail.com. Also, if you wanted to contribute to the show, we have a tip jar in the description. Anything you contribute gets us better quality stuff. So at the minute, we've got Konrad on the screen there. I think the next thing we'd want to do is maybe upgrade to a more professional audio system. Even though we've got these fantastic microphones, we're doing a really good job. I really want to have... Now, every time I say I want to have, I'm not asking you for anything. But I really would like to have like a professional audio system where we can actually have two people in the same room with a microphone each. At the minute, our microphones do not do that. It's too much echo. But yeah, so that's that. Thanks very much, guys. Konrad, any last thoughts before we head into season 3?
Well, just, yeah, come and join me on my journey in season 3. I can't believe we're here already.
It's going to be over soon. I haven't actually worked out the date yet, but literally like 8 weeks, it's going to be over. Early January.
That's unbelievable.
Alright, guys. Well, thanks very much, everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the After Dark podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode.